fantastic welcome, traditional welcome to the festival, and then our fantastic opening night of Angry Anouk. Star in presence right now. My name's Daniel Northway Frank. I'm the industry director here at the festival. I'm excited to be here for my eighth year. I can't believe it. It's crazy, but I love it. And just wanted to say, yeah, thank you for coming. Thank you for getting up early. Hope you enjoyed. If you came to the breakfast this morning with the Canada Council, it was informative for you. Yeah, we have a whole lot of industry events happening at the festival this year. Six different public events, and then three labs. So we have our first directors mini lab, sponsored by the DGC. We have the CMPA Emerging Producers Lab, and then a story script lab supported by Harold Greenberg Fund. So we're really excited to have those in our three disciplines being represented in a contained professional development program. We can hope to continue with their support next year. And I want to thank the Harold Greenberg Fund, who is our leading sponsor of the industry series. Thank you for them. And Doc Pitch down here. So yeah, we're really excited again to always have our annual pitch competition here. And I just want to thank the Aboriginal People's Television Network, who's been so generous with their time being on our juries, but also just with support of actually facilitating the event. So thank you for that. And I want to thank our pitch supporters as well: Bravo Fact, William F. White, NFB, Hot Docs, Doc Institute, and WIF Toronto, and all of our esteemed industry participants and panelists for offering their time and energy to make the industry series the leading activity of its kind in the world. So before I introduce Deborah Day, our CEO and chief strategist of Innovate by Day, we realized the other day that Deb has been doing this for 10 years. She's been supporting emerging talent for 10 years through the pitches. I've only been here 8, but so you've been here. You're the Gold Glove. So we just really want to thank you so much for just that dedication to us and dedication to these stories, and these stories that are actually getting made through these pitch competitions. We've had several works that have really been programmed at the festival as a result of the things here. So I just wanted to thank you and wanted to give you just a token of our appreciation, if you can come up. Yeah. I picked it out myself. So anyway, thank you so much. So I will just let her put her priceless art on the. There we go. One of them can use it as part of their, maybe your presentation. You want to add something there? Anyway, Deborah Day, everyone.
Inviting me to come back. It's a real privilege, and it's really special to experience the transformation that I think we see each year, and I hope that the filmmakers agree that the evolution of their projects and their ideas, and then even if they don't win this event, what's nice is to see how they evolve and how they come back and how projects evolve and get commissioned. We're going to hear a little bit about that shortly. A little bit of housekeeping. How it's going to work today is we have 3 official people pitching, 3 teams, and then we will have 1 wild card pitch. Now, I believe that people put their names into a hat, right, Daniel? And the names will be drawn by, at the end? By me? Okay, great. And so one person's going to get the chance, and for the first time ever, if that person or team wins, they actually can win the prize, not just be heard. So that's very cool. The prizes, I think everybody wants to know what those are because it's a really wonderful gift pack. So it's $2,000 cash prize from APTN with broadcast eligibility, a $2,500 cash prize from Bravo Fact, $2,500 gift voucher from William F. White for production equipment, a Hot Docs 2016 conference pass valued at $450, a $500 gift certificate from Technicolor for post-production services, a 1-year Doc membership and full access to the Doc Institute programming. I mean, this is, I keep going here. WIFT membership, which is Women in Film and Television, and Programming Pass. Year-round documentary consultation with a producer from the NFB. Year-round interactive consultation with a producer from the NFB Digital Studio. And last but certainly not least, an Imaginative supported Kickstarter funding web page. So it's an awesome prize. So if your name hasn't been put in the hat and you want a wild card pitch, make sure you stick it in there. All right, before we begin the pitches, I'm going to invite each of the panelists up, and we actually have a lot on this first panel. I think there's 7 of you. Yep. So let's start with Adam Piron, who is the film programmer and manager of Native American and Indigenous programs at the Sundance Institute. Come on up. I'd love you, Adam, to, if you would, come up here. You know what, I'll switch.
Hello. Good morning.
Thank you for being here. Would you tell people what it is you look for in a film?
Yeah, we are just looking for original voices and unique stories by Native filmmakers, producers, writers. Yeah.
Any length limitations?
No, not really. We do everything from shorts to features, and then also includes feature narratives and docs as well.
Brilliant. And last but not least, any tips or timelines that people should follow?
That's a good question. No, but if you are a U.S.-based producer and you're here, we do have a fellowship with Time Warner for Native producers, and the deadline for that is actually this coming Monday. So if you're interested to hear more about it, reach out to me.
Nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great. Next, I'd like to invite Adam Shamoon up. Adam is the director of the Doc Institute, one of the people or organizations who are contributing to the prize today. Thank you. And could you just give us a little synopsis of, why it's important and what opportunities there are through your institute?
Sure. So we are an initiative of the Documentary Organization of Canada. That's our parent organization, and we provide professional development opportunities for doc filmmakers and craftspeople throughout the year. And so I guess maybe what I can focus on for just a minute is a couple of our mentorship opportunities. One of them, which we've been running for a little over 10 years, is called the Breakthrough Program, with the support from the OMDC, and we work with 8 high potential producers to get their films ready for market for hot docs. And so we've seen a lot of success over the years with films getting produced. Just previously at TIFF, Hugh Gibson's The Stairs, that project came through our program. Nadia Tavazani, who is a wonderful producer locally, who also had a film there. So you can find out more at docinstitute.com.
Thank you. Yeah. That's great. Thank you very much. All right, Shane. Shane Smith is the director of programming at Hot Docs, North America's largest festival and market for documentary film. Welcome, Shane. Thanks for being here. I guess I'd ask the same thing. What kind of opportunities do you think that people should take advantage of? Again, you're a sponsor of this, which is wonderful.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think Hot Docs, being North America's largest documentary-focused festival and market, is a great opportunity for local and Canadian creators to meet the world's documentary industry. We have a couple of thousand industry delegates from Canada and around the world here, so it's a really great opportunity to connect with the world and hopefully bring your project to market and out into the world.
Incredible networking and obviously incredible inspiration too in watching the vast array of documentaries that are programmed each year. Super. Any other tips?
We're open for submissions right now, so send us your work. We're always looking for great Canadian and international Indigenous work of all lengths, shorts, medium length, and features. And we have a pitching forum as well, so that's an additional opportunity to potentially pitch your project to funders from around the world.
Yeah, it's a very intense one. It's extremely
like
intense.
Dragon's Den pitching.
Yeah, so this is a wonderful forum to like cut your teeth, right? Okay, good. Thanks, Shane. All right, Althea, filmmaker, opening film last night. Thank you for being here. I guess my question to you is, as a filmmaker and a documentarian, what would your recommendation be to our audience here today?
I think reaching out to filmmakers you admire is a really great idea. When I started out, I thought, you know, they must get hounded and who am I to approach this amazing filmmaker? But I've been amazed at how generous filmmakers, especially doc filmmakers, are with their time. And sometimes it's a coffee, sometimes it's a meal, sometimes it's just standing in the hallway for a few minutes and saying, hey, I have this idea, and they might connect you with someone that makes total sense for your project. So take advantage of people, take advantage of their generosity. Most are willing to help and excited to help in some way, because doc filmmaking is not easy, and I find it a very supportive environment. And I started out going to hot docs before I ever made a film, and it was an incredible experience to go to the pitching forum, even as an observer. It's like going to university over a 3-day period. It's an unbelievable experience. So if you can get into it, I highly recommend it.
I also have to say that I think that Imaginative, I mean, how it's grown over the years, and the programming that's available here, and the one-on-one meetings and the pitching and so forth, it's extraordinary. And you can't underestimate the value of networking face-to-face, just that face-to-face time. It's so hard to get, isn't it?
Yeah, and doing a pitch competition like this is amazing. Do all the pitches you can do, because you get better at it every single time. So just keep doing it over and over again, and eventually, you know, it gets better each time, so you have a better shot at getting it made the more you do it.
Thank you. That's perfect. Congratulations again on your film. All right, Ursula Lawson. Ursula is the executive in charge of Ursula is the manager of programs and development at the National Screen Institute. Thanks for being here. Would you tell us a bit about some of the opportunities that the National Screen Institute has, particularly for our filmmakers here today?
Well, the most relevant one right now is that I manage our Aboriginal documentary course, and the call for that is out right now. And every year we take 4 director-producer teams, and we help them develop and produce their films. So they come to Winnipeg for 2 weeks of an intensive boot camp in February, which is usually my hook right there. But if that's not enough, we also provide up $16,000 cash, VIK services. You get a mentor. You go to hot docs. NFB flies you to out to Montreal to do your post. All of the films have a broadcast agreement with APTN. They get aired on APTN, and after you do your festival run, they live on the NFB website. So you have networking opportunities, you produce your film, it's going to be seen, you have exposure, so it's a really great program.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, so I'll just add, if you go to nsi-canada.ca, you can apply, and the deadline is November 2nd.
Okay, so a little bit of time, but
Little bit of time.
yeah, not too much. Thank you, Ursula. All right, Nadia Godet Burnstick is the manager of programming Central Region for APTN. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Now, actually, I happen to know for a fact that we do have a lot of Central and Western Region filmmakers here. So this is the gal.
Yeah, come see me. So this is a really big responsibility, and I'm really nervous. I'm probably more nervous to be a juror than anyone that's going to be pitching. So if I'm shaking right now, thanks for bringing us up on stage.
I was instructed.
Wonderful.
I was instructed.
It's okay.
So please, can you tell us a little bit about how best approach to working with APTN?
We're continuously on an ongoing basis looking to develop documentary series, one-off documentaries, mostly series, because we are a broadcaster. We do look for 13 by 30 part series. We develop all year long. Licensing, we do through a request for proposals, at least twice a year. But if anyone's interested in developing their ideas with us, pitch them to us. Call me, send me an email. We'll definitely look at the idea, and I can give you pointers on how to, send your proposals in.
Wonderful. And is the best approach with you picking up the phone? Is it an email? Everybody's different, right? So I like to ask.
Absolutely both.
Okay.
But I like reading the one sheets, right? So if you want to send that in, that's great. Just some people on the phone might not be able to describe their ideas clearly. However, I like the phone call. I can give you all of our information that way. And yeah, anyways, good.
Thank you. That's
For sure.
perfect. Thank you. That's great. Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks.
And certainly last and not least is Leslie Burchard, who is the executive in charge of production for CBC Docs. And Leslie, you've been here before with us on the panel, as have some of our other people. But what I think is particularly interesting, well, you can talk a little bit about CBC Docs, please. But also I'd like you to talk about the legacy of being here and hearing pitches and meeting filmmakers.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So I oversee CBC Short Docs, which comes underneath CBC Docs, and we just started commissioning short docs from emerging filmmakers a year ago, and started out with 18 in our first year, and they've done really well. So far, they're one of our most popular online properties at CBC, so yay. And I was saying to Deb earlier that one of our most successful has been Thunder Blanket by Roxanne Whitebean, who I met here exactly a year ago. She stood on this stage and she pitched a doc. That is not the one that we went forward with, but I met up with Roxanne afterward, was really impressed with her. She was telling me that she had been, over the last year, documenting her journey with breast cancer. And I was like, oh, send me some of the footage. And we turned it into something, and it's done really, really well. And she's been great about really engaging with an online audience, people who, have been breast cancer survivors or just really touched by her story. So, yeah, we're really thrilled. And we're actively looking for more pitches right now from emerging Indigenous filmmakers. So I hope that we'll hear some pitches from you in the next few weeks.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. That's wonderful.
And cbc.ca/short docs has more information about where to pitch.
Perfect. Thank you, Leslie. Really appreciate it. I'm just going to reiterate, if it's not clear enough already, that it really is invaluable to come out to these events and to meet these people and to know that, and I'm saying this to our esteemed group of people who will be pitching, if it doesn't happen today, it could happen just like it did for Roxanne, and it is about relationships and great ideas and good people. So on that note, segue to our first pitch. Just to be clear, each pitcher will have 5 minutes to pitch, and I'm ruthless about the time on that. And then our panel will have up to 10 minutes to ask any questions, ask for elaboration, and so forth. And then after the three pitches, we'll have a wild card pitch. Okay? So, Jesse, would you come on up?
Hi, my name is Jessie Short, and my great-great-uncle was the tallest man in Canada. In 1990, when I was 9, I attended my uncle's burial ceremony in his hometown of Willowbunch, Saskatchewan. Edouard Beaupré died in 1904 while he was working in a freak show at St. Louis at the World's Fair in Missouri. He was 8 feet 3 inches tall when he died, and he still holds the record of being the tallest Canadian. My family was told that he would be buried in St. Louis. In actuality, his body was embalmed and sold repeatedly to be displayed post-mortem. A professor at the University of Montreal finally purchased his body, had him mummified, and placed in a glass case for over 6 decades. In the 1970s, my family finally learned of the true whereabouts of Edouard's body and began fighting for his return to Saskatchewan. after 2 decades of legal battles, my parents packed me and my siblings in a van to drive to the burial of Canada's tallest man. Edouard was born just before the battle between the Canadian government and the Métis in Batoche. It was a dangerous and difficult time for Métis people who faced persecution and violence from settlers and police and were often unable to find work. When he began growing at an alarming rate, he was encouraged to work in sideshows and freak shows across the continent in order to support his family. This is how Edouard ended up eventually working and dying in Missouri. A number of people have made work about Edouard's life and death. None of the work has, to my knowledge, come from my family. My documentary, the working title being Mon oncle, which means my uncle in French, is a commemoration and reclamation of my uncle's story from a family and community perspective. It engages themes of memory, Métis history, and repatriation. I've been researching and developing Mon oncle over the past year through a Canada Council grant. Through my research, I've come to realize that because Edouard passed away over 100 years ago, much of the material related to Edouard's life and death has been lost or destroyed. However, my connections to my family and the Métis community means that I have access to the rich oral histories that have been passed down through generations. Through sharing these stories with a viewing audience, I want to reclaim my uncle's story. I'd like to share with you a brief test clip I shot with my great auntie Frida. So if you can roll the clip, please. Maybe you can tell me a little bit about yourself and how you're related to Edward Beaupre.
Myself, that is my uncle, was my mom's brother. At 16, he was taller than his dad, and his dad was over 6 feet tall. And he had reached that height probably when he was about 12. He tried to do the same work that the boys did, but he couldn't even ride a horse because his legs were so long that his feet were dragging on the ground, you know. It was a long coat, but everybody that tried it on would have to stand on the chair because it would hang on the ground.
I envision Mon oncle as an experimental, nonlinear documentary, blending interviews with experimental footage and editing techniques. I was deeply inspired by the storytelling techniques of Sarah Polley in her film Stories We Tell, which engaged difficult themes and competing stories about the director and a secret surrounding her place in the family. Polley's film wove together parallel stories from the past alongside the present in a skillful, engaging way that presents a cohesive narrative, while also challenging the audience's perception of an ultimate truth. I hope to capture the spirit of layered narrative and wonder in Mon oncle. As an artist and curator, I have a background in visual arts and gallery curation. I have made 2 short films to date. They both shown in Imaginative, and my newest film and first narrative short, Sweet Night, will be showing on Sunday at noon, so please come. My creative practice strongly informs my work in film, and Mon oncle is no exception. I look forward to making and sharing this film with all of you.
There we go. Any questions for Jessie?
Hi, Jessie. We met last year, and you
Yeah.
told me you pitched this to me, and I've been wondering how this story's been coming along. I'm very intrigued by it. I didn't hear. Did you mention how long you intend this to be?
Well, I mean, in the pitch competition application, it said it had to be 10 minutes, so I thought, all right, I can give them something that's 10 minutes. But it sort of depends on how much material I get. As I said, it's hard to find. I found some historic material, but not a lot. So in my mind, I think this would be more like 20, 25 minutes. But, if they want a 10-minute version, I can do that and then do my own thing. So, yeah.
Great pitch. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Obviously, it's an extremely personal story, and you reference Stories We Tell. as sort of a format that you kind of aspire to with this. Can you talk a bit more about how you see yourself being involved in the film outside of a director? Are you going to be personally involved in the story? Is it about your journey, or is it more about the journey of your family?
I've always seen myself being in the film. I think it would make it strange and empty not to be, because it's very personal, and that's sort of the only way that I know to access it. And I think one of the problems with all the other, either whether they're news clips that I've seen, or there's a French language documentary called Le Monde est Fou about Edouard Beaupré, and I mean, it's an amazing story, but it was so strange. It was like so boring. It was the most boring thing I've ever seen. Because I think they had the same problem. You know, they ran into this wall of not being able to get like the facts. And yeah, so I mean, I think the most engaging way would be for me to bridge that gap and be that connection for the audience. Yeah.
I was just wondering, so is your family sort of on board with you making this film?
Yeah. My great auntie signed a release that I wrote on loose leaf paper. Yeah, I have different relatives across the country who, you know, I've been reconnecting with. Some are much older than I was a kid, you know. They were like the woman who actually brought Edouard's ashes back from Montreal to Saskatchewan. She flew them on the plane. So yeah, they are on board.
Hi. What kind of timeline are you thinking about for how long it would take to shoot and put this through post, and when are you thinking you'd like to do it?
That's a good question. I mean, I'd like to start shooting soon-ish, like in the next 6 months at least, I'm thinking. Especially because people are getting older. Again, on the timeline, it was 10 minutes long and a year. So, I mean, I could definitely get something together within a year. I have a feeling, though, it might take a bit longer, I'm thinking, to really do the story justice. Again, because it's been told so many times, I don't want to continue the spectacle that was his life and death. You know, I want it to be a purposeful commemoration and a reclamation as well. So, yeah. No? Yeah.
Just in terms of visual style, from the little trailer you just showed there, it was like a couple shots of like an interview, talking head interview kind of thing, and then some archival. Is that representative of what you think you would do?
Not necessarily. That's my own limited editing techniques or capabilities. I was pretty like, yeah, I did it. But I actually would really love to work with a really strong editor. For my Sweet Night film, I worked with an editor. It was actually a really great process for me, and it really helped me tell the story better, I think. So, you know, I'm thinking about, like, I would love to approach Indigenous editors. Like, I was thinking, they don't know this, but like Caroline Monet or Amanda Strong, and work with them to help bring that different visual style. So no, I mean, this is not experimental at all. It was just, yeah.
Good. Congratulations. Thank you very much, Jessie.
Thanks.
All right. Next up, Jermaine.
These are two of my masks. I want them to live the way they would have in the past. I want them brought to life. I want them to literally live among my people. let me take you with me on my journey of becoming a four-dimensional carver.
Hello there. My name is Jermaine Campbell. I'm Cherokee, Mi'kmaq, and Seminole by blood, but Naquachtao through marriage. And Naquachtao is a Kwakwaka'wakw nation on the west coast of British Columbia. My good friend there, Kelly Robinson, he's Nuk'ulk, and that's another Kwakwaka'wakw nation over on the west coast of British Columbia. And he got a hold of me because he knows the work that I do with the Naquachtao people and the sensitive way in which I treat the culture through my film work. And he reached out to me with some grant money from the Canadian Council for the Arts to develop a film. And we've done a whole bunch of research on it. He also came to me with a dilemma that he wanted me to help him solve. He's a carver, and he makes incredible work. He deals mostly in masks, and when you deal with masks, you're evoking characters and supernatural beings that have helped his people, in particular the Nuk'ulk, forge their identity from time immemorial up to now. Through all their successes, through all of their hardships, these beings have helped them celebrate the wealth that they've had. They've helped them transfer land. They've helped them mourn death, celebrate birth. And he tries to put all of that history, all of that culture into each one of his pieces. Now, the problem that he came up against is in all the success that he's finding, when he sells a piece to somebody outside of his nation, it divests all of his pieces of that rich trajectory of heritage. When it lives on a wall, it can no longer do his people's work for him. It doesn't live within the community, taking part in that age-old cycle. So he's been trying to balance his two worlds, his economic world and his spiritual world. And that's what we wanted help with to explore through film. So what we did, we packed our bags. I put a bunch of film gear in a bag, and he put all his carving gear in a bag, and we went back up to Bella Coola to try to explore this. And what we came up with is that Kelly had to stop carving in 3 dimensions and start carving in 4 dimensions. And what that is it turns out he already had one of the 4 dimensions down pat. And that first dimension is the masks and the regalia. He does a beautiful job with those. But they're devoid of life by themselves. The second dimension he needed was a dancer. Because these masks, after all, belong on somebody's face, right? And they have to live. And they can't do that on a wall. The third dimension, and this one's interesting, it's multi-pronged, is the musicians. The musicians, with the rhythms, bring the dancer to life, who in turn brings the mask to life in a good way. But the other thing that the third dimension, the musicians are able to do, is through their lyrics, they bring cultural context to the ceremony, what's taking place, where the ceremony might be talking about war, or like I say, land transfers, or feasts, or celebrating a birth. The musicians bring cultural context. But what else they do is they connect the first and the second dimensions, the masks and regalia, and the dancers, to the fourth dimension. And the fourth dimension is the most important. It's the people. In oral cultures, they rely exclusively on people to project their realities into perpetuity. They need people's memories, living memories, to hold their culture. And the beings that he's representing with his masks need people who they can do their work among, right? So we documented all of this stuff in a preliminary bunch of research, and we've got all the 4 dimensions down pat in a beautiful way, and we were able to celebrate his work and bring it to life, these 2 masks that you saw there, and have his pieces live among his people, and he reached his highest expression of his art. I want to make a full, proper documentary out of that, and I see a series potential in it as well. Thank you very much.
questions?
Hi.
Leslie.
So what kind of structure do you see the doc taking? What would we see happening?
Well, we start with Kelly, and he's given us a bit of perspective of the Newhawk people and the same tragedies that his people have had to overcome over the last number of years, and the place that he's found in his culture, being groomed as a carver, and the success and vitality that's allowed him to find. And then we come into his dilemma, the same one that I told you about, balancing the two worlds. And all the while, he's narrating the thing, and we've got the beautiful Bella Coola Valley and the Newhawk people as a backdrop, and as well as the art, the elders, the youth, the whole kit and caboodle. And then we go through detailing the beauty and the depth of all the 4 dimensions, and it all culminates in a beautiful ceremony where his pieces are literally brought to life to live among his people in the old way, in the old cycle.
And what's he like as a character?
He's it's really interesting. He thinks he comes out pretty stoic, but he's a really rich, cute, fun, wonderful guy. He's very photogenic as well.
Hi, Jermaine. That's a beautiful idea, the story idea. I love it. What is your background in filmmaking? What's your experience? And what is your access to other filmmakers in terms of producing this film and getting it off the ground?
I've been very fortunate in that so far I've been able to use this film as a vehicle to learning and meeting a bunch of new people, and that's what I'm really excited for in this festival. I've done a lot of work for, like I say, the Kwakwaka'wakw nations, and I've made about 30 short ethnographic films, and have been working pretty much exclusively with them, and helping them tell their stories and keep their culture in a good way.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
That was going to be my question too.
Thanks. Thanks, Jermaine.
Thank you.
I guess this is a bit more of a clarification question, building off of what Leslie had asked. But so the broader themes that you're going to be exploring in this story, is that going to be illustrated through each of the dimensions that you're exploring then?
The broader themes, what do you mean by that? Could you explain your question,
Sort of
please?
like larger universal themes of history and tradition and,
Absolutely,
economic
yeah.
struggle and so forth.
This is meant to be an example to all artists, not just Newhawk. It's just seen through a Newhawk lens, so that it can be an inspiration and a success story, because we need Aboriginal success stories, and people have to learn how to negotiate this new dilemma, because art has only been detached from culture for the last couple hundred years, really. It's always been an integral, interwoven piece that lives together, right? So it's a new dilemma. How do we live in both worlds? And I think it'll be a touchstone or a beacon for a lot of people who will be grappling with the same thing.
Thank you.
Thank you
very
very
much,
much.
Jermaine.
All right.
Congratulations. All right. Please welcome our next panelist. Do you need to get set up? Okay. This is Jamie.
I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are gathered on the traditional territory of the Mississauga, and I'm honored to be here today. My name is Jamie Bork, and I am from the Treaty 6 territory and a member of the Buffalo Lake Métis Settlement. I am a digital producer and director, specializing in content for the web first and television second. I have had a web series showcase here at Imagine Native in the past, and today I would like to share my new project with you. My work, apart from media, always deals with social issues, history, and this word reconciliation. I have sat on the Aboriginal Healing Foundation of Canada for 6 years, And as a result, I was invited to South Africa in 2014 by the Nelson Mandela Foundation to begin developing international memory work projects. At the time, I did not know what memory work was. When I first encountered this term, I believed it had to do with memory loss. And in some ways, I was right. Memory work deals with how we remember and how we use collective memory to learn from history. How a nation will document and interpret past atrocities like the Tutsi genocide in Rwanda or the apartheid system in South Africa. Memory work ensures that these events do not occur again. My project is titled in German, Das Indianische Problem, which translates as the Indian Problem. An interactive documentary that will use memory work to explore how the Third Reich under Adolf Hitler partially modeled the final solution, also known as the Holocaust, after the answer to the Indian problem. This journey begins when at the age of 28, I was told that my grandfather, Tommy Blind, attended the Indian residential school in Onion Lake, Saskatchewan. I did not know what a residential school was. And my grandfather did not talk about his experience there. And now that he is gone, we will never know. I began to research the residential school era, and my findings made me angry. Schools where students experience physical, sexual, and emotional abuse, and reports of experimentation, starvation, sterilization, rape, and murder, all free from impunity. So I began to research more, and I soon realized that my family history painted a story apart from my grandfather's experience. My great-grandmother in the center was from the Cheyenne Nation. She was brought to Canada by the Catholic Church from the United States, and her family disappeared, and most of her family disappeared during the forced relocation acts in the South. My grandfather's great-grandfather, Chief Big Bear, like many Indigenous chiefs, was imprisoned simply for wanting to sustain life for his people. These injustices have stayed within my family as memory, like so many other families. Generations of war, disease, death, segregation, assimilation, and legislated oppression. I was shocked to read that the Third Reich under Hitler studied how the North American colonials dealt with the nation's problem, with the Indian problem, and used this information to model the concentration camps and ghettos. Hitler's concept of genocide and war owed much, so he claimed, to his studies of North American history. Is this true? Our documentary will answer this question. Did the relationship between North America's First Nations and their European brothers influence one of the largest genocides in history? Where are we to turn if we do not have proper documentation of our past? And how are we supposed to achieve reconciliation if we do not first acknowledge an inclusive past, not a monopolized one? Our project has received preliminary funding in Germany from the Bundesstiftung, where I worked with researchers in Berlin for over a year, and we have found direct quotes from Hitler and the Nazi Party and how he was inspired. The ghetto was intended to represent a Native American reservation made available in the name of the German people to the Polish nation. We will start to look at the natives, Soviet people, as Indians. We are fighting like in the Indian Wars in North America. Together, we have put together a team of German and Canadian historians and artists to tell this story. But ultimately, we see this project as a part of being something bigger, an interactive innovation that utilizes opposing perspectives and media to initiate dialogue that is more than just talk, and actually initiates change, a project that will go beyond the screen. Not because we want to point fingers and promote hate, but because we need to remember, honor the past, and learn from it. Thank you.
Okay. You have a question? Can we save it till after these guys do theirs? Cool. Anybody? Yeah.
Fascinating. But I have to admit, my first thought is, how the heck would you do this in 10 minutes? This is a very complex, fascinating story that I want to see made. But yeah, how are you going to make that work in a short doc? It seems like it should be a feature to me, really.
Well, to be honest, I mean, I have been working on this concept for a couple of years. And like I said, I received a scholarship from the Bundesstiftung, which is a German foundation for reconciliation. So I lived in Berlin for a year, working with historians. And when I heard about the pitch competition, of course, it can be something longer than 10 minutes, but I just wanted this to be a forum. Like you say, it's a fantastic forum to get your story heard and to meet others.
Yeah, thanks for the pitch. Yeah, I think it's a very sort of, noble effort in terms of what you're trying to accomplish in this short. But I do wonder, are you able to get any actual documentation outside of just quotes and things that would reference this, or is it more kind of? I guess the main thing I'm trying to say is, like, I think there's a little bit of a danger of running into some speculation in terms of trying to connect dots that are both similar dots, but maybe they're not actually connected. So
no, I've heard this before, and I mean, the Holocaust is always opening new stories all the time, right? There's so much exploration done into it. And I know people will disagree with it, but I don't want this to be a preachy documentary. I want it to be an opportunity for dialogue to occur. People talk about genocide in Canada and you hear, okay, just get over it already. It wasn't that bad. But I think trying to connect it to something like the Holocaust or do the comparison really makes people realize exactly what the genocide was like in this country.
Leslie or
I guess one more just comment/question. I think it's obvious you've got a strong digital background, because that makes a whole lot of sense for a project like this. There are so many avenues to explore. And on second thought, I think there's definitely room for a short doc, but maybe a bunch of them. So I hope you keep pushing for it. I'm wondering if you have a team already. Like, can you tell us a bit more about your team?
I've worked with APTN before. I've done 2 series on Chaos and Courage. I worked as an associate producer. The team, I have Aaron Paquette as a writer, and he's going to push our project online as well. He has a very great forum, social base. Historians in German, I'm looking for a couple historians in Canada right now. I have contacted the National Screen Institute actually for a contact. Also, I work with a lot of great people in Edmonton who can definitely help push this project into production.
Okay, well, I'm going to say thank you in terms of official questions. Did you still have a question?
Oh, no, the guy over there answered it for me.
Okay, great.
It's just that, congratulations on coming up here with such a pitch, but just Adolf Hitler and having Indians and Canada, and my grandfather, he passed away in May. He was in World War II, and he was in also, his great-grandfather was in or his dad was in residential school at the same time when that happened. And when he came back from 44, he went to residential school in Assiniboia. But when you bring up things like this, Hitler, it kind of worries me as a Saulteaux First Nation from Canada, because we don't want to bring any wars down this way to Canada. We saw what's her name's film last night. She already has her own war going on with with dealing with the seals. That's her war there.
Mm-hmm.
But
Thank you. I'm going to say thank you for your comment. You know what?
May I say
Appreciate it.
something?
Yes, please.
No, I actually was going to put a good quote on it. It actually brings good dialogue into making a dramatic short film.
Okay.
I just want to say, when people think of the Holocaust, they think of German people as like monsters. And a lot of young German people feel this way as well. That's their form of intergenerational effects. And I think what people forget to remember is that Germans are not these monster people who created the Holocaust. You know, they had the Wannsee Conference where they actually gathered and studied systematic ways of killing. They learned from other people's points of history. So it was not just like the German concept. It took concepts from all different cultures around the world to come up with the final solution. Right? So it's like, I'm not trying to say it's going to start a war or anything, but it's just a place for dialogue to happen. Not, to do it in a good way, not to point fingers, not to be mad or angry.
No, I know that. It's that is kind of says Indian and Hitler. So that's the only thing. I'm not worried. I'll fight for you.
Right on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. All right. Congratulations. Nice job. Okay. Dustin, do we have some people? We have a bowl. 8 people. Wow.
Cards and papers.
I'm not going to look. I'm just going to do it like that. And Sage Forrester Daniels. Come on up. So, Sage, I'll give you a little signal of 30 seconds if you haven't finished, okay? Or
All right, so my name is Sage. I am a writer-producer from Winnipeg, Manitoba, and the film I'm presenting you today is called My Boy. So, it's the story of human rights activist Lydia Daniels and her son, Colton Pratt. 2 years ago, on November 7th at 3 a.m., Colton fell asleep after a hard night of partying in a bus stop in Winnipeg. He has yet to be seen or heard from since. In the weeks that followed, Lydia Daniels tried desperately to find her son. And to the best of her abilities, she tried so hard, but no one seemed to care about a 28-year-old, well, he would have been 28. He's a 26-year-old Native American man going missing. Since then, she started a fight just to get a dialogue started on murdered and missing Aboriginal boys and men. She's gone to the inquiry request and has requested that men and boys be included in the discussion for the murdered and missing girls and women's inquiry, and was denied such a dialogue. She has started the necktie campaign to start dialogue. She's gone to CBC, to all these news outlets. She's come here to Toronto to speak to the universities. She's been all over Canada, and no one really wants to start this conversation of murdered and missing boys and men, when really it should be murdered and missing Aboriginal people. Our people have always believed in the holistic way of telling stories, that one half of the story is not a complete story, that you can't have men and women separate, that you can't have just a piece and talk about that one piece. We are body, mind, soul, and spirit. We have always been that way, and we will always be that way. And for us to just divide ourselves within this issue is disingenuous to who we are as people. It's disingenuous to how we look at the issue of our people and how we're suffering. So I really want to tell the story of just Colton Pratt and his mother. Colton was a life. Colton was a person. Colton isn't a statistic in a number sheet. He was my best friend. He was my cousin. He was my love. He was my friend. He was the apple of my eye. In the times of when I was at the darkest point in my life, Colton talked me out of it, out of suicide. So many times he saved my life. Whatever he was, drug addict, party boy, he was still my friend. He was a tragic hero who didn't deserve to go missing. And I can't express that enough. He didn't deserve that. So what this story entails is my family has already agreed to this. I have a letter of, letter of confirmation from Lydia Daniels willing to sign over the rights to our company and to his life rights and to the story and hers as well to talk about this issue. We want to start and tell a story of Colton's life as a human being, the good parts, the bad parts, the happy and the sad, and bring it all the way to his mother's fight, just to have this conversation started. Thank you. I appreciate your time and consideration.
Thank you. That was very brave and very moving. Would anyone like to ask any questions?
Hi, thank you for that. How do you imagine telling the story? Is it interview driven? What would we be seeing?
So what I have right now is Colton's baby photos. We have videos of his first birthday on VHS. We'll probably have to digitize that. And I also have the stories and the stories of my family all on board, ready to go, as well as our chief and counsel has agreed to tentatively assist us in this, as well as the support of the Winnipeg Police Service in order to fully tell this story. It will be interview driven to tell the life and story of Colton, as well as interview style towards the end for Lydia Daniels' conversation of murdered and missing Indigenous people, ending at where I believe would be a good point is the family right now. We really want to go to the next Chiefs Association, National Chiefs Association, and hand out ties in accordance of the necktie campaign in order to continue and have this dialogue going.
Well done. On the spot, last minute pitch. You did a great job. It's obvious you're passionate about this, and it's obvious this is a very important issue, so I wish you the best of luck. Having made very personal films myself, I just wanted to give a piece of advice, and that is to work with a team that can help you step outside your own experience from time to time, because when you are part of the advocacy, it can be hard to lose sight of what the film is as a narrative story. So I think you've definitely got a story to tell in there. Just make sure that you've got someone that's not necessarily in your family or part of the campaign that can help you bounce ideas off and that kind of thing. Very well done.
Did you want to talk about any team that you have?
So I'm part of a trio of filmmakers, myself, Sonia Ballantyne, and Luther Alexander, and they've been great friends, and we've all been collectively working on our projects together in order to make them into realities. But I also rely heavily on the Winnipeg film community as a whole.
Well, thank you very much. Congratulations. Well, thank you all very much for being here. I would like to acknowledge our 3 official pitchers as well as our wild card pitch for coming out, braving it, and doing a great job. Let's give them a round of applause again, everyone. Thank you. And thank you very, very much, panelists, for being here, for contributing and committing your time and energy. And do know, everyone, that that all of the panelists have expressed an interest in meeting filmmakers while they're here, hearing your ideas, hearing your pitches. So approach them. They're very approachable people. I just heard somebody say please. So they mean it. Thank you all. We'll reconvene here in about 15 minutes for the drama pitches. So I invite you all to come back and see those and to put your name in the hat. Thank you.